How's it going, everybody? My name's Jake Thomas.
And I'm Cullen Thomas.
And tonight, we're talking about our UFC 251 fight picks.
All right, Jake. Fight number one. What do we got?
All right, so start out. The first fight of the night, we have Martin Day versus Davey Grant. Let's talk a little bit about these fighters. So Martin Day, he's 9-3. He's 31 years old, and he's 5 feet 10 inches tall. His counterpart, Davey Grant, is 10-4. He's 34 years old, and he's 5 feet 8 inches tall.
Yep. So since we're making our picks here, you know, I kind of looked at Martin Day. I watched about 4 of his fights. I watched a couple of his early fights. Mm-hmm. Then I watched a couple of his later fights just to kind of see how he's evolved. His striking's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of reminds me of Conor McGregor, the way he's real loose and fluid with his movements. He likes to throw a lot of spinning kicks, a la Conor McGregor, Edson Barboza.
Well, so he gets a lot of that from the fact that he's a 4th-degree black belt in karate.
There you go.
So that's why we see a lot of high-volume kicks from him. He throws a lot of different kicks. I really thought that he's a potential star in the division. He came in via the ultimate, or not the Ultimate Fighter, the Contender Series. He fought at 125, and he actually lost. He lost in the Contender Series. He lost a close decision. It was a very, very close fight. He dominated the 3rd round. The 1st round, he probably won. That, you know, going based off of that 10-8 must system, we've been talking a lot, or that 10-9 must system, we've talked a lot about. That 3rd round probably was a 10-8, and that would have made that a draw. Unfortunately for him, he lost that fight. Then he you know, that was a fight that he could have won, and then he went on to fight his next fight. That was about 6 months later. He fought on UFC Blades versus Ngannou 2, and he showed great striking. He looked awesome, but you know, he's got a little bit of ability off the ground. It's definitely his weakness.
His weakness is going to be on his back.
Yeah.
But he's tough. The kid's got a lot of heart.
Yeah.
And when he gets put down, he doesn't stop striking either.
No.
One thing I noticed when I was watching his fights is he keeps throwing. He'll throw elbows, knees, and he throws them from odd positions. If you get him on his back, he's going to keep hitting you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, in that fight, that second fight, he lost by split decision.
Yeah.
I thought he won that fight. Personally. So that's Martin Day right there. Now let's talk a little bit about Davey Grant. Davey Grant made his first UFC appearance on the Ultimate Fighter series, and it was actually Miesha Tate versus Ronda Rousey.
Yep.
He made it to the finals, where he ended up losing to Chris Holdsworth. Chris Holdsworth, who's a fantastic fighter. He lost by submission. The biggest problem that I have with Davey Grant is that he's kind of fairly inactive. He's only fought 5 times since 2013.
Yeah.
You know, so he's not putting a lot out there or he's not really fighting a lot.
Yeah, so one thing I did notice is that all 4 of his losses have come by submission. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because he's got a questionable chin as well. I've watched in a few of his fights that I did watch, he got dropped in almost every single one. Didn't get knocked out.
No.
But he is prone to getting dropped, and with Day being a striker, he's going to be headhunting.
Yeah, so I think that's gonna be the interesting thing about that fight is we're going to be looking to see what's going to happen there. Yeah. I think ultimately in the end, Davey Grant's going to try to work to take it to the ground. Yeah, and he has a couple of wins by submission, and
he has a couple good wins too. I mean that Marlon Vera win, and the Grigory Popov fight. I actually scored that fight 29-28 for Popov.
That was a close split decision.
It was another close split decision. Mm-hmm. I think Popov, obviously, in that fight, he got the better of him on the feet. And then in this one, Grant was trying to really grind on him, pushed him against the cage a lot, and tried to take him down.
Well, and I think that's going to be ultimately, for me, the deciding factor right there is exactly what you're talking about. Grant has the ability to change it up and become a wrestler. You know, he could pressure it against the cage. That's where Day showed to me that he was struggling at. So when I made my pick there, I ended up choosing Davey Grant by submission round 2.
Okay, see, I went with Day. One thing I liked about Day is that when I did watch his earlier fights versus his current last couple, he's shown really good improvement in his takedown defense. Mm-hmm. I mean, currently right now he has an 85% takedown defense.
damn good.
So I mean, he's showing great improvement. So
that's pretty.
And
damn
I don't
good.
like Grant's takedowns. He has to get in on the clinch.
Well, he
seems to like to get in on the
throws
takedown.
things to get in. He throws things to get in close, and he does that with he brings his whole body behind every one of his punches to close that distance.
So
and he's gonna have to do that against Day because Day will stand back at that range and work those kicks all day long.
yeah. So for me, I've got Martin Day winning a decision.
All right, so we got different picks right out the gate.
Yeah, right out the gate.
So you got a
going
decision
off.
for Day, and I've got
Yeah.
a second round submission for Grant. All right, so let's move on to the next one. The next one's Carol Rosa versus Vanessa Mello.
Yeah,
This is at 135 pounds.
Right, and this one, I to be honest, I got kind of bored watching both of these fighters when I was going through doing my research. They're both kind of flat-footed,
Yes.
not finishers. They're both hittable, so
Yep.
I mean they're both going to sit there. One thing I did notice about Rosa, she does have some pretty solid power, but she doesn't seem to know how to put it together and finish. She mixes up her strikes, and she does struggle versus grapplers. The difference is Vanessa Mello is not a grappler. She is a striker. So, but she seems to have a better stand-up game where she puts her jabs together better. She gets going later the fight goes. She's a slow starter, kind of like Cowboy.
So the way that I saw Vanessa Mello when thinking about it, I watched her, and she's just constantly coming forward. She's constantly walking forward, throwing punches. She's very tough. She's 10-7. She's 32. She's 5'5", and she's fighting the much younger fighter in Carol Rosa, who's 11-3. She's 25, same height as her. Both are 5'5". Carol Rosa won her first fight in the UFC by split decision over Laura Procopio, and that's the fight you were actually talking about just a second ago when she was standing flat-footed.
Yes, I did. That was one of them.
She throws a lot of body behind her punches, but she doesn't really move her head. She doesn't really move around much. But I did think that she mixed in nice kicks and elbows and stuff together when she was out there striking. I think that in this fight that she did a pretty good job of stuffing the takedown from Procopio as well. And I think that when it comes to Vanessa Mello, I think that she's competed twice in the UFC. She's lost both by decision. She has fought tough girls, but what she's going to be looking to do is to keep Carol on the back foot. She's going to be following her, chasing her down. I think ultimately, though, she's just going to make herself a little of a punching bag because she continues to just walk forward. Yeah. She doesn't do much to protect herself either. She just comes forward and throws punches.
Yeah, she doesn't. But the one thing, she has a dog, like you said. She does walk forward. I think 6 out of her 7 losses are all decision, with like half of them being split decision losses.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a really close fight, I think. I think we're going to see kind of a boring slugfest. It's hard to say, because when you hear slugfest, you don't think boring.
The hard part's going to be that it's following up a fight that's potentially a fight of the night candidate.
Absolutely. I think we talked about that earlier. I said that Martin Day versus Grant has potential to be a fight of the night.
That first fight out the gate has potential to be a fight of the night.
Absolutely.
So this fight right here, I don't know that it has potential to be a fight of the night. They're going to be standing there throwing, but you don't see a lot of technique from them.
No, it's just kind of a brawl, but not a lot of damage being done.
No.
Just a lot of point scoring. It's just going to be a slow slugfest.
Yeah, so who'd you end up picking for that one?
For that one, I actually did go with Vanessa Mello by decision. I think coming off the 2 losses, I think she's in desperation mode because, to be honest, I really think she should be on 3 in a row because the fight versus Jan Finney, I actually scored that fight for Jan Finney.
Okay, I would agree with that.
And so I think she's on 3 in a row, to be honest. So she's got to be in desperation mode or she's getting cut. She's not an exciting fighter. She's not really that young, so she's not a prospect in that sense. No. It's fight or flight mode right now. She's got to win, and I think she's going to get it done with a decision.
Well, I would agree that she needs to win. I just happen to think that she's going to be a punching bag. I think Carol Rosa is going to be coming at her, throwing the power punches, and she's just going to keep landing. Vanessa Mello is going to walk forward and going to get hit. The other thing, though, that we have to worry about that for me with Carol Rosa is Carol Rosa doesn't move her head.
Yeah.
So it's only really going to take one mistake, and Mello can potentially...
I think Mello has enough power that she could get it done, but we just haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it. So I got Carol Rosa by decision.
All right. Well, this next fight, so we're moving on to fight number 3 here. This is one that I'm actually picking.
Another potential fight
It's
of the night
hard to
candidate.
say that this is my fight of the night pick because with the 3 final fights on this card, like every single one of them has a chance to be fight of the night.
So on paper, this is going to be like the best fight card of the year.
Yeah, I'd say
paper.
so. On paper, this fight card is just stacked.
You know, I don't like to judge a fight card based on paper and what the paper says, because as you've seen throughout this entire coronavirus pandemic, there's been nothing but great fights. I've seen a lot of people say they're not going to tune in simply because they don't know them. They're like, oh, this is going to be a boring card. They're not putting anybody on it. But I'm watching these cards and they are exciting.
Yeah, there's been some really exciting UFC cards, and I think part of it is they're bringing in, prospects because someone on their team is getting, they're testing positive, so they're bringing in somebody else on short notice, and these guys are trying to take advantage of it.
Oh, yeah, you got a lot of guys. Well, it's part of the thing that made me really like the Contender Series. You see these guys go out and they're fighting all out trying to win that contract.
Yeah.
You know who really wants to be there.
Oh, yeah.
And you're seeing guys out here really wanting to take advantage of this. All right, so let's move on to the next fight. We have Raulian Paiva versus Zhalgas
Zmagulov.
Zumagulov. Yeah. This is at 125 pounds.
Yeah, so this one, it's another potential fight of the night candidate right here. One thing I noticed right off the bat is Zhalgas has beaten Ali Bagatinov,
Yep.
a UFC vet.
Yep.
Not an easy win.
Yep.
He also beat Tyson Nam.
Yep.
Who just recently picked up his first UFC win.
Yeah. He knocked the dude out.
He's really powerful with his strikes. He has power in his both hands. He's really fun fighter. When we remember talking about fun fighters, he's a fun fighter to watch. Yep. He's creative with his strikes. Like when you see him strike, and he'll throw stuff from out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And one thing I really like is he works the body, works the head. He will go for whatever you leave open.
And he's powerful.
So what do you think about Zhalgas?
So with Zhalgas, he's 13-3. He's 31, and he's 5'5". So he's not a very tall guy, but he is a very powerful guy. He's making his UFC debut, and like you already mentioned, he has wins over other UFC fighters, Tyson Nam and Ali Bagatinov. And then he also has another win over a guy who's making his debut on the same card, and that's Tagar Ulanbekov. Mm-hmm. So he also has a win over him. Actually, he's not making
he's on one of the cards.
Yeah, next one on the 18th. So he's making his debut on the next one. So he's already destroyed people that they're pulling these top prospects in.
Yeah,
he's already beaten them.
Yeah, he's good, dude. Yeah. He's fun to watch.
He is really good.
But then when you go on to Raulian Paiva, this is going to be his 4th fight in the UFC.
Yep.
He has really good head movement. He's accurate with his strikes. The dude has super quick hands. Like he can flick them out there and hit you really fast.
Yep.
And he's going to be, I believe he's taller but he's lanky for a 125.
Well, and he's another guy who needs a win. He's 5'8". Okay. So he's 5'8" as a 125 pounder. That's still pretty tall.
Yeah, pretty tall for 125.
And he's lengthy. Raulian Paiva, he's 19-4. He's 24 years old. He's 5 feet 8 inches tall, and he's 2-2 in the UFC, including a split decision win on Dana White's Contender Series. 6 months after fighting on the Contender Series, he made his UFC debut, where he lost a split decision to
Kai Kara-France.
Yep, Kai Kara-France. And then he fought Rogerio Bontorin, who's actually fighting on the same card tonight. And he lost to him by TKO, but that was just because of a cut.
Stoppage and a cut. And it was actually a really good fight, though.
It was a nasty cut, and it was an exciting fight. So he's not really been dominated.
No.
He's in every fight that he's in.
Oh, absolutely. Each of those losses were close.
Yeah, and if you look at that, they gave him, even though he's where he is in the UFC, they gave him the number 14 rank.
Yeah.
2-2 in the UFC, including a win on the Ultimate Fighter, or on the Contender Series, and he's got the number 14 rank. They did it for a reason.
Yeah, and he just beat Mark De La Rosa with a knockout.
Yeah,
so
he's really good.
Yeah, he's good. Really good. So like I said, this is going to be a fun fight. I don't think it's going to be easy for either guy. I don't see it going to the ground. I think we're going to get ourselves really
gonna be a stand-up,
fast-paced,
just
rock'em sock'em robot type deal. And for that reason, I actually picked Zalgas via knockout in round 2.
This is going to be a fun card because you and I are so opposite in this
Did
card.
you pick Paiva for this one?
I did. I picked Paiva.
Dude.
I picked Raulian Paiva.
This is going to be crazy
by
because
decision.
I
just don't feel like either of these guys are going to get finished.
I think Paiva's getting finished.
Looking at him, Paiva's not been finished.
I think he's about to be.
I think he might have gotten finished early on in his career, but if you look at even the fights that he loses, they're close fights.
He got tapped out in a fight a long time ago.
But he loses close fights.
Yeah, he does.
And that's it. He's never really had his ass
But I did see him get dropped.
Yeah,
he's got dropped. I just don't know.
What did he do after that, though?
Oh, he gets right back up and fights. But dude, Zalgas is a beast. He's an animal, man. And with the power he packs.
Oh, yeah.
Paiva's going to get hit hard.
Yeah.
The question is he going to be able to take those punches? Because I don't know if he's been hit as hard as Zalgas is going to hit him.
Well, and we'll find out.
Yeah, we're going to find out. That's the great thing about this is we're going to find out.
We're going to find out. This is going to be fun.
I'm excited for this fight. I don't know if you guys can tell with the big old smile on my face. This is a good fight.
This is awesome. Up until this point, we have no picks that are the same.
We're opposite all three so far.
I like that. This is good. This will make for a fun night. All right. So let's move on to the next one. So the next one's Marcin Tybura versus Maksim Grishin at 265 pounds. Yep. Marcin Tybura was originally scheduled to fight Alexander Romanov. That changed within the last few days, and now he's fighting Maksim Grishin. Marcin Tybura, he's 18-6. He's 34 years old, and he's 6 feet 3 inches tall. While he's typically a taller guy, he's fighting Maksim Grishin, who's also 6 feet 3 inches tall. He's 30 wins. He has 30 wins, 7 losses, and 2 draws. He's currently 36 years old.
Yep.
Marcin's been in the UFC for a long time, since 2016.
He's been around.
Yeah, he's
has
5
some
and
good
5.
UFC wins. Andrei Arlovsky, Stefan Struve.
Those are huge.
So he's got a couple of really big wins. He's also got a couple of really big losses in the UFC.
Well, yeah, he lost to Fabricio Verdum, but Verdum also was a champion.
And then he also lost to Derek Black Beast Lewis, a.k.a. My Balls is Hot. I can't give him a bad time for that loss because Derek Lewis was knocking everybody else out too.
Yeah, this is going to be a good fight. I don't typically like heavyweight fights, but this one looks to be like a high-action heavyweight fight.
It could be.
Marcin's like light on his feet. He moves around and he throws things and he kind of sticks and moves.
I think he has underrated striking.
Well, here's the problem that I have with the striking, though, is the fact that I feel like he's constantly trying to stay out of range of getting hit. He doesn't like to get hit. So he tries to stay far enough away to get or to not get hit, but also to land, and it makes him miss a lot of the punches that he's throwing. Yeah. And a lot of the punches that he connects, they're not at the proper distance, so they don't have the power to them.
Yeah.
I think that he's trying too much not to get hit, that he takes away from his own power when he's striking and makes him miss.
So Grishin is right now. He's coming up from 205. He's making his UFC debut on a week's notice. I think 6 days. He's coming over from the PFL where he fought, what was his name? Jordan, I've got it right here, Jordan Johnson.
Jordan Johnson, who's a monster.
He actually fought him twice. He beat him in one fight in decision, or went to a draw in the second fight.
Yeah, it was a draw in the second fight, but then because it was a tournament, each of the judges got to pick who they thought was the better fighter. All 3 of the judges picked Jordan, and he moved on in the tournament.
Yeah, so Jordan Johnson, even in the first fight, Jordan Johnson was able to use his wrestling to control Grishin. Grishin did have the better striking.
Yep.
He can pick people apart. My issue with this one is, so I picked Marcin Tybura. I picked him by decision because Tybura is one of those guys that can really fight anywhere. He can fight standing up. He can take it to the ground if he has to. We've seen it with Stefan Struve. We saw it with Andrei Arlovsky in both those wins. He took those guys down and just grounded them out. If he stays standing, I think he's got enough stand-up that he can make it a close fight. But I don't know if he'll win if he keeps it standing, which is why I think he's just going to work for the takedowns.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to want to keep it standing. His last 2 losses have come by a TKO knockout.
And Grishin's a knockout guy.
Grishin is definitely a knockout guy. But I think with Marcin, he's definitely going to try to close the distance. That's going to be his best bet to win. I feel like he's coming off of a win, but prior to that win, he lost 2 in a row by TKO. Although, granted, one of them was Augusto Sakai, who's a monster.
We didn't know it at the time, but now it's like, okay, we know Sakai's the real deal.
He's the real deal. He's coming up, and he's a monster.
Yeah.
But Maksim Grishin, he's 30-7. He's only lost once since 2012.
Yeah, he's undefeated. My problem with
he's not undefeated.
Well, yeah, but since 2012.
Yeah, he lost.
Just hasn't fought the same level of competition that Tibura's fought. He's also coming in on short notice. He's going up to heavyweight. I just think there's so many things that are going against Grishin that I couldn't pick him. I wanted to.
I wanted to
so bad.
We talked about this through text a little bit. But, here's the thing about it is, so, like, I tend to think that the lighter weight guys moving up do better. I've talked a lot about it on the shows. Another example of that right now, who's the guy fighting later, we'll see how it works for him, is Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo started struggling at 55. He went 3-2, and then he went down to 45. And he lost lost his belt to Connor. He lost his belt at 45, and then he went down to 35, and he lost a split decision that Dana White actually thought he won, which put him in position for the fight that he's coming up in. But I just, I haven't really seen him look like he looked of early, and I feel like the moving down is not a good sign.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's crazy because
we'll have time to jump back on that later. Yeah. Let's get on that one later.
Because even then, we could talk about that too with Frankie Edgar coming up next week.
Yeah.
He's another one of those guys that has gone down. He wanted to stay at 155 for his whole career, but he ended up going down.
The UFC convinced him to go down. I wonder how much they had to pay him to do that.
Well, he's all the way down to 135 now too.
Yeah. Well, and look, he hasn't been a champion since he was at 55.
He's supposed to be making his 135 debut, but we'll talk about it in the next one because his opponent backed out, and there's no name yet for a replacement.
So let's finish this one up real quick. Like we said, he fought in the PFL since 2012. He's got 17 wins and 2 draws. So he's not really doing bad. He's also the older fighter. Guys. He is the older fighters. And in this one right here, I actually chose Maksim Grishin to win by knockout in round 2. Yeah. So that gives us, so far on the entire early prelims, we don't have a single pick that's the same.
This is going to be crazy.
This is going to be interesting. One of us is going to probably do really good, and one of us is going to do really bad.
When I originally made my picks, I had Grishin by knockout round 1. Because I figured he was gonna come in and he was just gonna blitz because he probably isn't as in shape right now. He's coming in on week notice.
Well, I mean, he's been doing it long enough. He knows better.
Yeah, he should know better.
Yeah,
he's coming up to heavyweight, so he doesn't have to cut weight, so he's got that going for him. But I was like, dude, if he comes in on his UFC debut and just blitzes Tibura, that would be insane. But then I got to thinking about it and I kept looking at it and I'm like, there's no way. And so I couldn't bring myself to pick Grishin. I wanted to so bad.
I'll be curious to find out who has the longer reach. I think that's going to be a big factor in it.
Yeah, we could look that up.
Because what I feel like is if Grishin actually has the longer reach, which I feel like he will, just looking at the body structures, that's going to play into his advantage considering that Marcin likes to stand back a little bit and try to play at a safe distance.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see. I would be curious to see that. I didn't see that when I was looking up the information, but it would be nice to have.
Yeah, I said, I think it's going to the ground for a Tibura decision.
All right, and I got Grishin by TKO in round 2. So then we move. Actually, I got him by KO, but they're the same under the damn thing. All right,
moving on.
So now we move on to Leonardo Santos versus Roman Bogatov at 155 pounds. This is the first fight on the ESPN and ESPN Plus prelims. So Leonardo Santos, he's 16-4-1. He's 40 years old, and he's 6 feet 1 inches tall. Yeah. And then Roman Bogatov is 10-0. He's 29 years old, and he's 5 feet 9 inches tall. So what do you think about this fight?
Well, this one's an interesting one because originally, if you've watched our show, and you notice how I pick, I tend to stay away from the older guys.
Yes.
My issue here is also with Leo Santos, this is his first fight in a year. He's 40 years old. This is his first fight in a year. It's his second fight in 4 years.
Yep.
So you were talking about the activity, being active earlier. Yep. He's not been very active later in his career. Mm-hmm. But he also is like super good BJJ. I think he's got like 4 championships under his belt.
7-time jiu-jitsu world champion.
7. There you go. But he's added power to his game as he got older.
He got better at striking, training at
crazy.
Nova Uno.
Yeah, dude. So he's been knocking people out. I think he beat Kevin Lee.
Yes.
He's got some really good wins under his belt.
So he's 6-0 inside the UFC.
Yeah.
He has one draw actually, but he's 6-0-1 inside of the UFC octagon.
He also beat Adrian. So he knocked out Kevin Lee and he beat Adriano Martins, which is another good win.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he just recently, last year, almost exactly a year ago, June 1st, he knocked out Stevie Ray.
Yes, he did.
So you see that, like I said, he's getting those knockouts later in his career.
And as we were talking about his jiu-jitsu, in 2005, he submitted GSP in a Abu Dhabi tournament.
Yep.
With an armbar.
So it's crazy. The guy, he's really, really well-rounded at 40 years old.
And he looks like he's like 30.
Yeah, he doesn't look like a 40-year-old.
There's got to be an error on that birth certificate or something.
It's the Brazilian horse meat now. But he's going against Roman Bogatov, who's making his UFC debut.
Gosh, this was a hard one.
He's the M1 Global Challenge champion at 155.
Yep, he's the champion.
Undefeated, right?
Yep,
10-0. He's kind of a bull too, man. He likes to push forward.
Dude, he's a buff, muscular guy.
He likes to push forward. He likes to shoot for his takedowns. He's going to come in and get the takedowns. Now, here's where it comes in. He has a
lot of wins by submissions.
He does.
So he's not he knows what he's doing on the ground. And
he does, but I don't think when I look at his record, he hasn't fought anybody near the level of Santos on the ground.
Well, that's hard to say because we oftentimes look at a lot of these names. You don't realize a lot of these Russian names, but then they come into the UFC and they start tearing these guys up that you think are monsters. So it's really hard to say. You know, judging based off the names that we don't know, that makes it hard.
Could be. But when I watch his fights, I was watching his takedowns and just the way he goes.
It's just all power.
He powers. He shoots in, he gets hit. He gets hit. He's really hittable coming in. Mm-hmm. I think Leo beats him on the feet.
Well, when he does get hit on the feet, he likes to shoot.
Yeah.
You know, so if he's in danger and striking, he goes to the ground game. So that's where this is going to make it interesting.
It is, because I think Leo beats him on the feet.
I think so too.
And if it goes down, I think Leo, given his experience and the fact that he beat, a high-level wrestler, like he actually knocked out the high-level wrestler and Kevin Lee. I think he's got enough there, dude, to just... I think he's going to pull it out. So I've got Leo actually winning a submission in round 1.
Hey, we got a perfect pick, baby.
Are we both sub round 1?
Yeah, sub 1. Look at that.
We got one, baby. All right.
Nice. All right, there we go.
We got
one pick. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, here's what I think is going to happen. He
just doesn't have experience.
I think that, it's not even the experience thing. Roman Bogatov's got a style. He wants to throw some punches and use that to set up his takedowns. If he does get hit, he wants to go for his takedown.
Yeah.
There's different levels to jiu-jitsu.
Oh, yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Your instincts are going to kick in. If he says, I'm not going to go to the ground because I know this guy's a world champion, he's going to start getting peppered. His instincts are going to kick in. And when that happens, he's going to try to shoot.
Yep.
And as soon as he does that in the first round, because Leo's going to take advantage of the striking early on, he's going to shoot in and get submitted.
Yeah.
I don't see him powering out of it, not against a 7-time world champion. Technique beats power and strength every day.
Absolutely.
So that's that fight right there. That's another potential fight of the night one because they could
tough
both
debut fight.
Yeah, it is a very tough debut fight, but it's a potential fight of the night candidate just because the way that the grappling can go in that could be exciting. The way that the striking can go in that from both of them will be very exciting, with one throwing power and one using technique and speed. It's going to be interesting to watch overall.
Yeah, dude. All right, so moving on to the next fight, we've got Marwan Amirkhani.
Makwan
versus...
It's not. There's no R in it.
Makwan.
It's like Makwan.
Yeah, either way. Makwan Amirkhani versus Danny Henry. How do you like this one?
Oh, I love this fight. This is so. Like I said earlier, this card on paper could be, the fight card of the year.
Oh, absolutely.
This is stacked with a bunch of killer fights, and this one's another one that I think is going to be super exciting. So Danny Henry, he's 12-3. He's 6 feet tall, and he's 32 years old, and he's 2-1 inside of the octagon. Makwan Amirkhani, he's 15-4. He's 5'10" and 31 years old, and he's been inside the UFC octagon since 2015.
Yep.
He's currently 5-2 in the UFC. So I'm super excited
He's
about
fought
it.
some killers too. He fought Shane Burgos.
Yeah, well, he fought Jason Knight as well too. That was a good fight. They were talking a lot of trash in that fight.
In that Shane Burgos fight, dude, I realized really how strong Amir Khani is.
Very strong.
He ragged, even though he got beat in that fight, he was ragdolling Burgos. Like, he literally just picked him up.
He looked great.
And slammed him.
He looked great.
It was crazy. So, I mean, he's got really good submissions. And like I said, he's really strong.
Very well
One thing he does do he gets hit a lot on the feet, but I mean, he's a submission guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this fight's going to be interesting because Danny Henry's a submission guy too, right? Danny Henry, I think that he's the taller guy. He's going to have the longer reach. He fought Daniel Tamer, who's a monster, who I think was undefeated at the time with several first-round knockouts, and he got hit.
Didn't he beat both the Tamer brothers? Or did he only beat the one?
I don't know.
Let me look that real quick.
Well, but in that one fight, though, against Daniel Tamer, he got hit over and over and over again. And he never seemed to back up or even get hurt by it at all. He was getting hit with some heavy, heavy heat in that fight. That was a good fight, and he just kept going.
He got pummeled in that fight.
Yeah, well, and then Daniel Tamer tried to submit him a few times. He showed great submission defense. He was able to fight off all the submissions. He showed awesome transitions. I know. Well, and it was weird because Tamer looked really small.
I think he's got like 38 wins in kickboxing too, something crazy like that.
Something crazy like that. But it was an interesting fight overall watching that. You know, he showed a strong chin. And then after that fight, Danny Henry went on to fight Hakeem Dawood from Canada, who was a huge prospect, who was a huge prospect, probably still is a big prospect. And he submitted him right out of the gate. It was like 39 seconds, and he hit him with a nasty guillotine. Folded him over and just put him out cold. It was great. So after that, though, he ran into Dan Iggy, who...
Well, with the Dawood fight, though, I think he landed a really nice shot.
Oh, he hit him right before that.
Just clocked him, and Dawood went down, and Henry just grabbed it, locked it up.
Ripped it up, and submitted it.
But then he goes on, and Dan Ige, who's headlining Wednesday's card.
It's the next one. I think it's the 18th.
But he ended up getting tapped out by him in the first round.
Yeah.
Rear naked choke.
Yeah.
I think that's why. So when we come to that, I think
it's going to be interesting how this all plays out. It's crazy
because you got two really good ground guys. I think Henry is really good when he's in control, but when he's on his back, one thing I did notice, like when he had a kickboxer in his guard with Tamer.
Yeah.
He struggled with that. Though. So, I don't know. It's close. I picked Amir Khani via decision.
Ooh, that's interesting. I picked Dan Henry by submission round 2. So, we are so off on this card.
See, I don't think anybody's getting tapped out in this one. I think they're both too good on the ground.
I think he's too long. I think he's too long and too big.
Yeah.
And
but long, lanky guys can get held down.
Well, long, lanky guys are also really good at submitting people.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the biggest deciding factor is going to be the size difference there, and he's going to use that to set up a submission.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be interesting.
So then we move on to the next one. So this guy's got 2 different names that he goes by.
Yeah.
It's Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos.
Yep.
So it's the same fighter. You might see it as Elizeu Zaleski, or you might see it as Elizeu dos Santos versus Muslim Salikov at 170 pounds. So Alessio is 22-6. He's 33 years old, and he's 6 feet tall. And he's 8-2 inside of the UFC octagon.
He's been in the UFC a while.
He's been here for a while. And then Muslim, he's 16-2. He's 5 feet 11 inches tall. And he's actually 185-13 in kickboxing.
Jesus Christ.
He is a monster kickboxer.
Yeah, dude. So with Zaleski, man, with his UFC career, he has some good wins, you know. He beat Lyman Good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he beat Max Griffin.
That's a really good win.
Knocked out Sean Strickland, which is a good win there. You know, and then when it comes to his loss in the UFC, his most recent one, he lost to a really good striker. what's that? Zhang Liang Li?
Yeah, Li Leech.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude.
just leave it at that. Make it short, Li Leech.
Yeah, so I mean,
that guy's a monster.
pretty,
Though, so.
he's a beast. That's one of the one things there. So Zaleski's a capoeira style fighter.
Yep.
He likes to throw a lot of capoeira kicks.
You'll see a lot of spinning kicks from him.
You're gonna see some fun stuff.
Oh, he knocks some people out cold with those kicks too.
He's
a monster.
Yeah,
with
he's
them.
really light on his feet. Really, really quick with his striking too, though.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did notice, when he does get hit a lot because he'll try to do some fancy stuff, so he'll get hit. He's prone to getting hit.
Yeah.
Now when you come over to Salikov over here, this guy, he's got power in both of his hands.
He does.
He's got power in both hands, and he's really strong in the clinch. It was one thing that I noticed when I was watching a lot of his fights is inside the clinch, he's really strong. He likes to come forward a lot. When he is in the center of the cage, he does a really good job cutting off the octagon or the cage period. He has a really sneaky spinning heel kick. I don't know if anybody, when you watch his fights,
Yep.
he throws a spinning heel kick that is really sneaky quick and can connect, and if it does, you're going out.
And that's the way most of his punches are, though. To be honest, though. So what I wrote down for him is he's an efficient striker. He doesn't throw like a huge volume. He doesn't throw a ton of punches. He's really looking to land those perfect punches. And when he throws them with a ton of power and a ton of speed. And that's part of the reason he has so many first-round knockouts.
He put Nordine Talib out cold.
Fast. Real fast.
Getting like eyes rolled back in the back of his head.
Well, I think there was 38 seconds left in the round. But when he hit him, he just dropped him. He hit him, and Nordine dropped like a ton of bricks.
And Nordine, though, the thing with him is he's been in some
striker,
wars,
and
dude.
he's a striker too.
And he's taken some shots from a lot of the tough dudes. And this one put him away, man. So for this fight, really, dude, I just with Muslim, they're both strikers.
I hate the nickname King of Kung Fu.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of his nickname, King of Kung Fu.
Whatever,
but
it is what
often,
it is.
how many times do capoeira fighters win?
Well,
not say win. How often are capoeira fighters successful in the UFC
against other high-level strikers? Not very often. But Alicio, he's 8-2 inside the UFC.
He is. But you got to look at his record too. He has a couple good wins.
Yeah, there's a reason he's still not in the top.
Yeah, he just hasn't cracked that top.
Well, he hasn't been given those. He's been given the exciting fights, and the UFC's used him as an exciting fighter to put excitement.
That is true. That there's some politics in that.
There always is.
Yeah.
It's weird how they promote some guys up faster, and then other guys have to go get 8 or 10 wins until they're denied a chance.
Well, look at Leon Edwards.
Well, yeah, exactly.
He's on 8 in a row, I think it is, and he's still not getting that shot.
He's
but
just
to be
nipping
fair,
at the butt, though he's getting close.
To be fair, I did see he was offered the title shot and turned it down.
Yeah, well, not much you could say about that, right?
So I mean that's his choice. Hey, can't complain at that point. So yeah, and that was before what's his face got pulled from.
You're talking
from COVID.
Yeah. You're talking about Burns.
Yeah, Burns. Before Burns got Edwards was offered the title fight.
Before Burns was offered
the title fight, and he turned it down.
Yeah, I mean those are both guys that are deserving of a shot. So you take the shot or you don't. It's up to you. Yeah. You can't complain if you don't get the next opportunity.
But yeah, so I mean, just given the way that I'm really impressed with Muslim. So I've got him winning a knockout in round 2.
Oh yeah. Well, I have Muslim winning a knockout in round 3.
Round 3, okay.
So we finally have another pick.
That's 2 so far.
There we go. We're close to perfect on that.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Now we're gonna move on to the next one, and that's Volkan Oezdemir versus Yuri
Prochazka.
I don't know how to say it, but that
I watched it, but I couldn't understand a lot of what was being said in a lot of his fights. But this one's a fun. Dude, this is a hard one to pick because Volkan was tearing people up before he met the upper echelon dudes in the UFC. Yep. Once he got there, he stopped knocking people out. I mean, he did win.
Well, he ended up getting that title fight, and then he lost that title fight.
He got knocked out by DC.
And then after that, he lost to Anthony Smith by submission.
Yep.
And then he lost to Dominic Reyes.
Reyes. All
those are top 3 guys.
That's what I mean. Like when you get up there, And then he did knock out Latifi.
Latifi, yeah.
And that was actually a good fight, going back and forth for a while. My problem with him is I've never really been a fan of his striking.
No.
I don't. He's got sneaky power, like the way, because I think with Latifi I think it was Misha Serkinov that he knocked out. Like Serkinov had him against the cage, and he just from like really real close, just right here, right up behind the ear, and dropped Serkinov.
It's crazy.
And it was crazy. But so he has a lot of power, but the way he strikes, dude, he's like real flat, like a robot out there, and then he's just real wild with his stuff.
He's very stiff.
Yeah, very stiff, very wild.
Yeah, he throws very hard punches that you can really see coming, and a lot of the lighter guys would probably move out of the way. But he hits a lot of these heavier guys.
Yeah, I mean, you look, he knocked out Serkinov, knocked out Manua, knocked out Latifi. Mm-hmm. So he's knocked out some good names.
So then his opponent, though.
But his opponent
I'm just gonna call him Yuri.
His nickname is Denisa. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's his nickname.
Yeah, but I'm just going to call him Yuri. So he's also a knockout artist. Most of his wins come by first-round knockout.
And he's coming over from Risen FC.
Yeah, he's coming over there from Ryzen. And he actually, in his last 3 fights, he knocked out
knockouts.
CB Dalloway in the first round.
He has 8 knockouts in a row.
Fabio Maldonado in the first round. And Fabio Maldonado is a striker.
Yeah.
So he knocked him out in the first round, and then he knocked out, just before that, King Mo.
So
those are 3 guys that are really well-known guys. They're all good, decent strikers. CB Dalloway is not the best striker. He's got more wrestling,
grappler,
but he does know how to strike. Yeah. So, those are 3 impressive knockouts, and when you think about it, it just makes it hard to choose. And there's still question marks because I haven't really seen Yuri fight these guys when they're in their prime or when they're in the UFC. So
well, he's making his UFC debut, so we're going to see it.
He's making his UFC debut,
and this isn't going to be a hard debut, I think.
This is a very hard debut.
Just based off what I've seen from him, like his striking is much more clean than Ozdemir's. Which I can't knock Ozdemir because it works for him.
It works.
It works. If it works, it works, right? Who's to say it's wrong if it's working?
No.
But from my standpoint, I just like what I see. He's in there. He's stronger. I think he's going to be stronger than Ozdemir. So if it goes to the clinch, I think he's going to be able to control it around a little bit. The dude's jacked. He
looks like a Spartan.
Yeah, he's just jacked.
Yeah.
And I saw enough of him on the ground that I think if he really wanted to, he could take it down, and Volkan can't do anything.
Yeah, I think so too. So I ended up in this match, I ended up leading towards Yuri with a first-round knockout.
Okay, so hey, we picked again the same here because I've got Yuri. I've got him with a round 2 knockout, though.
Nice. All right, so we got 2 of them where we got the knockout going on.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so let's move on to the next one. This one is Paige Van Zant, a local girl, versus Amanda Ribas. So Paige Van Zant, she's had a little bit of time off prior to her last fight, which was 2019. If I remember that, it was early 2019. That was against Rachel Ostovich. She won that by submission in round 2. Prior to that, though, she was 1-3 in her last 4 fights before that. She did have that broken arm. She was sidetracked with things like Dancing with the Stars, but she's shown really good striking.
She's shown a lot of improvement.
Shown a ton of improvement. Her husband's a national champion wrestler. Her husband is a phenomenal striker. So, and she's with a good team. She trains with people like
American Top Team Portland.
Yeah, she trains with people like Rick Story, or not Rick Story, but Ricky Simone, Chael Sonnen, Ed Herman. Those guys. So she's got a good team around her. She's got Fabiano Scherner, who's a multiple-time world champion in jiu-jitsu, in her corner. So she's been getting better, and with the time off that we haven't seen her fight in almost a year and a half, it's hard to say what's been happening.
Yeah,
how well she's been training and what's going on.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard one. For me, when I looked at this fight, and I looked at Paige and I looked at Amanda, right? Amanda Ribas.
Amanda Ribas.
And
so Amanda Ribas, real quick, she's 26, she's 5'3", and she's 7-1 as a pro.
Yeah, and so one thing I noticed real quick about them is they both look really, really similar in their styles.
Yeah.
They both have really good striking, and they both can submit you.
Yep.
And in fact, that's actually Reba's bread and butter is her submissions. So when I watched her first couple of fights, she looked really, really bad on the feet. but her ground game was phenomenal. I watched her last fight, and she looked...
Against Ronda Marcos?
I believe it was Marcos.
Yeah, it was Ronda Marcos.
She just picked her apart, dude.
Her. And that was that was at 115
and she looked
pounds.
really good.
You also have to remember, though, she's been fighting anywhere between 15 and 25.
Yeah.
So just before she got in the UFC, she fought at 125, and she got a win over another girl named Jennifer Gonzalez. And then she came into the UFC, and she's been fighting at 115 since then.
Yeah. So it's going to be a crazy close fight, I think. It was really, really hard to pick. But I think I went with Ribas, I believe, by submission in round 2.
That's interesting. So I didn't think that it was going to be a submission. I just think that Paige Van Zant's with too good of a team to get submitted by somebody realistically with a guy like Fabiano Scherner in her corner, with her husband being a national champion wrestler. You know, I feel like she's got enough grapplers around her that she should be able to shut down the submission game. But overall, I feel like she's going to be on the back foot playing defense, and Amanda Ribas is going to capitalize, and she's going to win, just like she's been doing in her last several fights. I mean, you got to look at it. She beat Randa Marcos. She beat Mackenzie Dern, who's supposed to be a phenomenal submission artist.
Yeah,
and
that's what I mean.
She also beat Emily Whitmire before that.
Yeah.
So she's beaten some good girls, and she's not just fighting slouches. I think that for me, that just makes me push towards
It's hard
Amanda.
to not pick her.
Yeah, it just gave, for that reason, I pushed towards
She has
Amanda.
so the one thing that I noticed that they both do almost similar is when they both push in for the clinch, and they both like their trip takedowns.
Yep.
So that's going to be an
see what
interesting, for me, that the clinch battle, I think is going to be where this fight is won.
Oh, and that's the first fight on the main card, by the way.
Yeah. So I think whoever wins the clinch battle is actually going to win. But I think Ribas is going to get it down. And I think where Paige does struggle is getting back up. When she gets up, she likes to give up her back.
Yep. Well, that's a very wrestling thing to do, right?
Yeah. And so Ribas, I just don't see her passing up that opportunity to get a neck. So that's I've got to, I'll even say it's going to be another rear naked loss for Paige Van Zant is what I'm calling it.
Ooh, it's possible.
I'm even going to tell you how.
It's possible. So we've only got a couple that are similar. All right, so then we're gonna move on to the next one. You have Jessica Andrade versus Thug Rose Namajunas. This is the rematch.
So I mean, yeah, we've already seen this fight, right?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, Rose beat her up.
She was
pretty
beating the hell out of her
last fight.
Yeah.
Up until she got dropped on her head
For about 5 seconds, right? It's just like
that's all it takes.
It's just like Ben Askren said the other day when he was asked how long it took him to realize that Jorge Masvidal was good. He said about 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, man. I think Rose is the better fighter overall. She's better. She's a better striker. She's more clean. She has better footwork. She's better on the ground.
So the other thing that I think is every time I see her in a rematch, she looks better in her rematch than she did the first time.
Yes.
So she already knows what's going to come from Andrade.
Yeah.
She's seen the power and she's seen the mistakes that she's made. She's with a slick enough team that she's going to make the adjustments, that she's going to be able to come back and dominate, I think, all 5 rounds. I don't know if she puts her away.
5.
Or it's not 5, it's a 3-round fight, sorry. All 3 rounds. I don't know if she puts her away because Andrade's still tough.
Yeah, Andrade, she is a bull, man. She's a bull. She'll come forward no matter what.
Yeah.
And we saw Rose putting it on her.
She was whooping her ass.
So,
and she barely slowed
But like
down.
you alluded to there, she gets better in her second fight. So my thinking with this one is she already picked her apart. Mm-hmm. She's going to do the same thing again. Yep. This time, though, I don't think she's going to get in the clinch with her because clearly Andrade is stronger.
She's very strong.
She's super strong. So I think what we're going to see is we're going to see Rose keeping her distance and just picking her apart until eventually she just finishes it. She's just going to beat her enough till either a doctor stops it or
I think she's just going to beat her enough and it's going to go all the way through to a decision.
I just think it's going to be
at least we have the same fighter pick.
Thug Rose knockout round 2, baby. Let's go.
Thug Rose knockout round 2. I got Thug Rose decision.
All right.
So this
keep it rolling, dude.
Man, you're going to hate me for my next several fights.
I don't know. No, see, I don't know. This is going to be interesting again.
All right, so this one we go into the first title fight of the night.
Yeah,
and this
is the three title fights on this card.
Of the 3, this one's Petraeon versus Jose Aldo.
Yep.
This one, it's going to be a super exciting fight. Jose Aldo is the former 145-pound champion. He was a champion at WEC coming into the UFC, and he defended it several times successfully.
Oh, yeah.
Before running into Conor McGregor. Since running into Conor
Downhill from
McGregor,
there, though.
yeah, he's struggled a lot. He struggled a lot. He dropped down to 35 after a couple more losses at 55, or at 45, sorry.
Yep.
Dropped down to 35, and he lost to Marlon Moraes by split
Arguably.
decision. And, well, on paper he lost,
Yeah,
right?
he did lose the fight.
Dana
according to
White
the judges.
didn't agree with the judge's decision. A lot of people didn't agree with the judge's decision. I didn't agree with the judge's decision. And so Dana White said, I'm giving him the title shot anyway. Yeah. If I'm Marlon Moraes, I'm probably really pissed off about it.
Yeah, I mean,
that kind of defeats the whole point of having judges there. If
defeats the purpose of having rankings, judges, everything. But that's been the history of the UFC. So
yeah, but you know what? This right now. This is Jose Aldo's last chance.
I agree.
He has to take advantage.
He's only
of
33 years old
done,
too.
though.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but there's only so many wars your bodies can be put through. Despite the fact that he's only 33 years old, he's been fighting the best for a long, long time.
Yeah, he's been doing it forever, man.
Yep,
He's been at the top of the game since before the WC merged with the UFC. So
yeah, he was the WC champion.
I think he
beat Mike Brown. He beat Mike Brown after Mike Brown beat Uriah Faber.
Brown.
He destroyed him.
So I think if Jose is going to win this, the one thing he's got to do is I think he's got to get back to his leg kicks.
Yes.
He's got thundering leg kicks that will fuck you up. I think it was the Jose Aldo versus Uriah Faber fight where he
picked him apart with leg kicks.
With leg kicks.
Yes.
I think that's what he's got to do with Jan.
Yep.
So my thing with Jan is the dude is super, super smart. Mm-hmm. Like his fight IQ is insanely high. He's extremely well-rounded everywhere. If Aldo comes forward, Jan's not going to get hit because Jan is like really good at avoiding strikes. His
really
evasiveness is insanely high.
When Jose Aldo goes straight forward.
Yeah. And the one thing I do like about him is he's also very, very patient. So Aldo is very good against fighters that are coming at him that are impatient. Mm-hmm. If you watch a lot of his fights, it's the guys that are coming at Aldo that end up getting knocked out. Jan's not going to just come at him. He's going to slowly, methodically walk him down to the cage, and then he'll just start picking him apart.
What I'm curious to see is if we'll see Aldo come out with a big flying knee like he did against Cub Swanson.
Yeah.
Because remember, he came out right out the gate, and he starched him in like 3 seconds.
But Jan's not going to...
No, Jan...
I don't think even if he does that, Jan will sidestep it, and it'll be fine.
It's just so hard to react to. It's the same thing that got Ben Askren. A guy comes running and flying at you with the knee. You got to make a choice, and you get one choice to make, One choice. So, but if you look at Petr Yan's record and who he's beat recently, he beat Douglas Silva. He beat John Dodson. John Dodson was in talk for a title for a little while. He beat Uriah Faber, who's fought for the title several times.
Yep.
And he beat Jimmy Rivera, who was another one.
He beat
Faber
destroyed
him
badly, dude.
He destroyed him. And
I can't believe they didn't.
That was after Faber destroyed Ricky.
Yeah, and I can't believe they actually let Faber continue. So they did stop that fight in like the second round. And because Faber had a gnarly mouse on his left eye and his cut, and the doctors looked at, but they let him go. Comes out in the third round, I think it was, and ends up getting knocked out.
Yep. So this guy's the future of the division.
Absolutely.
In my opinion, I think he's going to be around for a long time. He's going to be around the top 2, top 3 for a while. You might end up seeing him in some battles with people, maybe forming rivalries similar to how John Jones has done with several of his opponents. You look at Alexander Gustafsson. I don't feel like he's going to be falling off, but once you get up there against those top few guys, it's just so close.
It's going to be interesting, man. I've got Jan winning a knockout round 2, though.
Yeah, I got Jan winning a decision.
There you go.
Ooh, so yeah, I just don't think that he's going to knock out Aldo. Aldo doesn't really get knocked out much. He did get knocked out against Conor McGregor, and he's been struggling a little bit lately, but I think that Jan's just going to go ahead and look at how many title fights that is. This is insane.
Yeah, Max Holloway knocked him out twice.
Yeah, Max Holloway was a freak though, right? Max Holloway's fighting later at that time too.
Yeah, Max Holloway's fighting on the same card.
Yeah, but outside of that, he doesn't really get knocked out much.
Yeah, I just think those wars.
Petr Yan usually wins by either decision or knockout though.
Mm-hmm. And it's the wars, man. So. I think Jan's going to be patient enough that he's gonna catch Aldo.
Catch him with the right
just
one?
think he's gonna catch him.
So I have Jan by decision. You have Jan by knockout. So that's the first of the 3 title fights. And then we move on to the next one. And that next one is Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 2.
Yep.
We've seen this fight before.
Yeah, it's another rematch.
Yeah.
Another really fun fight that could really go either way.
I think that, I felt like Volkanovski controlled that last fight from the beginning to end. Max Holloway just seemed to be a step behind.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're going to run into the same thing here. I don't really know how much Max Holloway's really been training. He's been saying stuff like, I was training on Zoom calls and stuff like that. And some of that's probably trolling, but it's like, you always have that question in the back of your head, like, what is he really doing? Think about Mike Perry a couple weeks ago. What is he really doing for training?
So I like Volkanovski here by decision, dude.
Yeah, I have Volkanovski by decision.
I think it's
going
to be the exact same thing.
I think it's going to be the same thing. I just think there's too many question marks with what Max Holloway is doing right now. It's hard to make that much improvement over that little of a time, though, where he was getting dominated by Volkanovski.
And he doesn't get finished.
No.
It's hard to finish Max.
No.
So I just don't see Volkanovski finishing him, although he did land some nice shots.
But
I just think we're going to see the exact same thing we saw in the first fight.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Makes for an easy pick on that one. I feel like we're going to run into Volkanovski taking the decision. And unfortunately for Max Blessed Holloway, he'll be starting his way back up. I think that
got to be.
It's about time to officially move up and dedicate his time to 155.
He cuts a lot of weight.
He did lose at 155 though when he went up.
He did,
but that was also
Dustin Poirier, right?
Dustin Poirier for a championship fight,
who came up from 145 as well.
So it'll be interesting to see. But also Dustin Poirier he beat Dan Hooker.
Yeah,
and he looked really fucking good in that fight. They both looked great in that fight, to be honest.
Yeah, that was a war.
A loss to Dustin Poirier is not the worst thing in the world, but I think that, after this fight, if he loses, it's time for him to move up to 155, let his body be a little bit heavier, let his body be a little bit healthier, but let's see how this fight goes. I just don't see him winning it.
Yeah, it's going to be the same thing, like I said, same thing as the first fight.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Let's move on to the main event, dude.
The main event.
So we've got the champion, Kamaru Usman, also known as Marty.
Fake newsman.
Versus George Masvidal.
Jorge Masvidal.
This is going to be a fun one, man.
I
think the fans are more excited for this fight than they were with Gilbert Burns.
Definitely. Well, this was the original fight that they were trying to set up. And then negotiations fell through. Jorge Masvidal didn't like what the UFC was offering. He was on not Joe Rogan's. He was on Chael Sonnen's show today saying that it wasn't about the money, it was about the pay-per-view points.
Yeah.
He's saying, I'm not asking for any more money, but I'm saying if I'm the one drawing the fans in, why don't I get a bigger percentage of the pay-per-view points?
And
which is absolutely right.
Because if you look at this card's probably going to do double what it did with Burns as a headliner.
Yeah, just from bringing him on. Look at all the media that's already jumped on it.
Oh, yeah.
It's the underground's blowing up. Everything's blowing up just by the fact that it's not the Gilbert Burns fight now. It's the original fight that people were looking to see.
Yeah, and that has value.
The mistake that I feel like the UFC made in this fight was not promoting it as the BMF champ versus the welterweight champ.
It would have been cool to see him put the BMF title on the line.
Well, when I saw that poster, even if you're not putting it on the line, when I saw the poster and you saw Usman wearing his belt, I was like, you did a fight for a belt there with George Masvidal. He should be wearing that thing. He should be wearing that thing in the poster.
Yeah.
Even if it's not up for grabs. It's like when you put a 45-pound fighter versus a 55-pound fighter, and guess what? Even though that 45-pound belt's not up for grabs, you have it in the poster, and then after Conor McGregor goes out and wins it, he wants to hold up both those belts.
Well, right. He became the two-time the double champ.
The 45-pound belt wasn't on the line, but it was still a marketing tool.
Yeah.
So I feel like the UFC missed the boat on promoting that, considering the fact that there's so much hype around the BMF belt that fans are almost demanding that belt to be fought for more.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of a cool belt, though. I mean,
it is
because it's a belt that you can build pay-per-views around, and you can get exciting fights with it.
You can mix it up because you could have Jorge Masvidal fight a guy at 85. That 85-pounder could win it and fight at 205.
Yeah, just have it moving around.
It could move around. It could fucking eventually move its way up to heavyweight or move its way back down to the lower weight classes.
That'd be crazy, dude.
So like that belt is an interesting belt in the fact that it's not stuck to a weight class.
Yeah.
To me, I think that makes it awesome.
That would be kind of cool to see. But
Just see where it goes. Just see where it goes.
So George's coming in on a week's notice. Mm-hmm. He says he hasn't really been training. I mean, he helped DP with his camp. Helped another fighter with his camp.
He was working with his hands before this with Roberto Duran.
Yeah, he says he's been kind of like staying in shape, just doing some stuff, but he hasn't really been
cardio
training.
Stuff. Yeah, he said he's been in the gym about 2 to 3 times a week.
Yep.
And he's been doing like cardio and road work stuff on the outside of that. And he said that when he was going to the gym, though, they were hard training sessions. He just wasn't trying to put his body through what an actual training camp is like.
But he says he's also got 15 pounds to cut in about 4 days, he said.
Yeah.
So that's going to play a role.
That's going to be hard, but he did say that his room was set up nice for it.
Yeah.
So he has the hot tub. He has a elliptical machine in there. So he has the things to keep him moving and working. I think he said sauna. I don't remember, though, for sure on that. But, he's set up to get the weight off. It is a short time to get all the weight off. And it's a short time to show up for a 5-round fight.
A title fight, dude.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think he's going to try to come out blitzing early but, I mean, George, he never really has had an issue with cardio.
No, and you've seen the way he came out in his fight against Ben Askren. He came right out the gate going crazy. Yeah, you're right. He's never really had the issue of cardio. He's a fighter. He's been a fighter his whole life. Yeah. And he fights from beginning to end. It's going to make for a super, super exciting fight. Kamaru Usman
is a beast.
Is a monster.
He's a different animal, man. I think
he's a different athlete.
I just don't think he gets credit enough. It's really weird.
Well, it's another one of those things where he kind of grew up in the background. The UFC didn't really force his image on people until they had no choice. Yeah. I mean, because he went through and he dominated people.
When you look at how he beat Tyron Woodley, nobody beat Tyron Woodley. Like, he ragdolled Tyron Woodley.
Until Gilbert Burns did that too.
Yeah, and then Gilbert Burns comes into it. But I think that also shows that Tyron was just, after that fight just downward.
But he also beat Damian Maia. He beat Rafael Dos Anjos. He beat Sean Strickland. He actually whooped him. That was awesome.
And then the Colby Covington fight, a fight that Covington was arguably winning. I think one judge actually had it 3-1 Covington. One judge had it 3-1 Usman.
Yeah, and then one had it 2-2.
Yeah, and another judge had it 2-2.
Yep, going into that last round.
It was a really close fight. Mm-hmm. If Usman didn't finish that, we could be looking at Covington Masvidal right now.
We could have been.
It's crazy.
So it was a crazy fight. And up until that point in that last round, Covington was winning that round, I felt
absolutely.
And then he just...
His jaw just couldn't take it.
Dropped him. He had a broken jaw, dude. With all sorts of stuff. He hit him with everything. So it was crazy, though. Kamaru Usman, I just feel like he's just a better athlete overall. He's got a lot of really good wins. Mm-hmm. George Masvidal is a journeyman who I think is finally coming to his own. He's coming off the best year of his life.
Absolutely.
Even if he doesn't win this fight, if he puts up a good fight,
he'll get a full camp rematch.
Yeah, he should be able to get some sort of a rematch as long as it's a good fight. Just because he came in on short notice, we'll see what ends up happening. Him and the UFC came closer to terms when it comes to negotiations. Not exactly what he wanted, but enough to get him back out there fighting.
Well, he actually signed a new 4-fight contract.
Yeah, and he said it wasn't what he wanted, but it wasn't what he wanted, but it was closer.
He said they finally gave him something. But, I mean, with this fight, Usman is just too well-rounded, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think George's kryptonite is fighters that know how to pace themselves. Because when you look at his losses, they come to guys who aren't over-aggressive. Mm-hmm. You look at Usman, he's going to come out, he's not going to rush him.
Yep.
He's going to work him, he'll work jab. I think he's going to take him down. I think
mix
he's
in
just
some wrestling just to keep
I
it.
think he's just going
to
to take
keep
him
it
down and pound
well-rounded.
him out.
I think that he's going to throw some stuff on the feet though, because he
will.
He wants to show that he's a well-rounded striker. He wants to show that his hands are just as good as his ground game.
Yep.
He's been fighting for a long time in the UFC. At this
I think
point.
he showed that with Covington though.
He did show it with Covington.
That was because I didn't expect him to be able to strike with Covington like that.
No.
Although I was impressed with Covington striking too. It looks so much better.
Great. Covington's got the best jab in the game.
It was just a crazy good fight.
So,
but I've got Usman winning a decision.
Hey, so do I.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's just the way it is. We're going to end the fight on a high note. End the night on a high note.
Kamaru Usman by decision.
It's just with the short notice. Usman to me is a better, well-rounded fighter overall.
Yeah, overall.
I just think that he's got too much going for him that it's just going to be a decision for him. I just don't think he's going to finish him.
Yeah.
He's not much of a finisher, even though he did finish Covington. I think that was due in part to just Covington eating too many shots to the fucking jaw, and it eventually gave out.
Yeah, it happens. But you know what? It's going to be a great night. It's going to be great fights.
Yeah, I'm excited for the whole card.
About it. Hey, before we get out of here, you guys, I want to say one thing. Make sure you come and join us on Tapology.com. We'll post a link with the video. Join our group and sign up to make your picks. Come compete with us. If you are the person with the highest score, we'll announce your name at the end of the video. Last week it was our sister Heather. The week before that it was Cullen. And then the week before that it was me. We've currently got, we're adding more members every day. We're adding more members. Sign up, join us, and try to come beat us and take away the throne from one of us Thomases.
And if you like what you guys are watching, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit that bell so you can get notifications anytime we post a new video or go live. Mm-hmm. And also share it with your friends, man. Share it with your friends, family, whoever.
Check us out on Anchor.fm. We're also available on 7 other platforms besides that. Anchor.fm. You can find us on there as well.
Yeah, man, we got it. So, hey, all right, guys. And this has been our UFC 251 Fight Night Pick'em. You're watching the Crushing Cans podcast with Cullen
and Jake Thomas. Let's crush these cans.